Welcome to another episode of a Meatsmith Harvest. We are here with the newest addition to the Sheared family.
We have two announcements,
Yes.
not just one. The first one is that Vincent was born in April.
Yeah, almost 4 months ago.
Yeah, with blue eyes.
Yeah.
So that was great.
He's the first boy after 5 girls, so
Yeah.
we're all a little enamored with him.
But Lauren and I wanted to jump on and make a few announcements, preliminarily wise. So, number one, Vincent was born, and that's great. And he has a lot of long Catholic names, which we'll probably talk about at some point, because nomen est omen. And then also, we are happy to announce the launching of a new class. And the new class is the Family Pig Part 2. So it is more pig harvesting because I am utterly compelled by the sheer diversity and magnanimity of the backyard pig to offer another 3-day pig harvest with completely new material. So we're actually not going to cover a single thing that we usually cover in our Great Family Pig class, Part 1, that we've been offering for, 10 years now, at least, a decade.
Yeah, at least.
It's going to be a 3-day course, and I guess the one thing that will be the same is that we're going to work on 2 pigs with 8 people again, because that seems to work. And we are going to start with a slaughter, because that is the beginning of the narrative, and it really makes everything that comes thereafter more intelligible. But in this case, I'm going to have previously slaughtered one of the pigs so that I can get a lot of stuff curing beforehand, several months in advance. So that by the time we get to the class, a lot of it will be ready, or at a particular part of the curing process that will be instructive. That will be part of a lot of the cures that we begin when everyone is actually here for the class. So we will slaughter a pig with each other, but just one, which is going to leave us a lot of time on day 1 to harvest the things that we have not been able to do in the normal family pig class, because they do take time. Chief among them, the intestines. We are going to clean the intestines, large and small. The small intestine for sausage casing, and the large intestine for chitlins or chitterlings, or andouille, or whatever you want to call it, because everybody makes their version of delectable large intestine meal. But it'll be great. There's always been this frustration in the family pig, is that it's only 3 days, and we have so much to cover. And so the things we tend to have to leave out are brining, rillettes, preparing the meat and preserving it through fatting, confit, and preservation through fermentation, salami, and not just flavoring the salami, but actually fermenting the salami, traditionally without nitrates, without nitrites, and without starter cultures, Vincent. And that is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to include all 3 of those things: the confing, the salami, and the brining. We're going to cure everything. So in the family pig, Part 1, we create wonderful cuts, chops, roasts, fresh sausage. In this class, we're going to carve everything to be cured. So the whole carcass is going to be cut up to be preserved, to be salted.
So we're not going to wrap anything at the end of the day.
Yeah, there's no wrapping. It's going to be salo, lomo, spala, all kinds of stuff. We're going to joint the entire carcass, more like a Mediterranean approach. It's going to be isolating muscle groups rather than creating more standard cookery cuts for cooking, which is what we do in the family.
Or like if the things that we're not going to cure, we will actually cook. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking the extremities, like the trotters,
Yes.
the tail,
Yeah.
even the head. We might roast.
Yeah.
So it's either going to be on the salt or in our bellies.
Yeah. We're going to take the time to prepare the head both ways, because we'll have 2 heads. That's the other thing
right.
we're going to make, which
Yes.
we never get to make which is sort of like the icon of whole pig utilization that everyone mentions, even if they don't have a lot of, whole hog eating experience. They always think of head cheese. That's the frontier of eating the entire pig is head cheese. So we're going to make head cheese.
Yeah.
We're going to do it, and it takes 3 days. That's gonna be the first thing we start.
That's right.
And the last thing we eat.
I know. We were contemplating doing like a 1 or 2 day class, and we're like, if we're gonna do head cheese, we need a third day.
I know. We need. That's just the way it is.
And it really frees us up to do all the other things too.
Yeah. We'll have time to do rillettes. And pancetta.
One of the other big things too is the torching.
Right.
The slaughter is gonna be a little different than we normally do.
Yeah. Yes, there is more than one way to dehair a pig.
Yeah.
Namely 2. There's 2. There's only 2. The first that we teach in the Family Pig Part 1 is the scald and scrape, which is excellent and probably the one I do most of the time. But sometimes I encounter a pig that is excessively enormous and does not fit conveniently in my barrel. So then I torch it. But it's not just for large pigs. Torching it can be an intentional way that you do for flavor reasons to depellate, to remove the hair of the pig. And because what torching does is it cooks the skin a little bit.
Right.
And even you can read in William Cobbett in the 19th century saying that it's the American method. Burning the hair off is the American method, and it tastes better. It makes the bacon sweet. And it kind of does. It kind of sweetens things up.
Like caramelizes it, kind of?
A little bit. It's just a little closer. It's a great way to remove all the hair officially. And there's definitely a technique to it. It's got to be done well, lest you have the very undesirable outcome of the burnt hair flavor, which is basically the challenge with torching, is eliminate the burnt hair phenomena, because that's gross. But we're going to torch it. We're going to torch the pig that we slaughter. It'll be great. It's another option. It's a simpler option. It requires less kit. So you don't have to have a barrel and a big burner that can support the barrel. You just need a propane torch. It's kind of sweet. You don't need a very high crane or barn beam to hang the pig from, because you don't have to clear a barrel and everything.
Right.
So it is simpler as far as setup goes. But I ran in once to a guy who sought me out, who was from Russia, which I know is very vague. I can't remember where from, but I do remember. He was from the far northeastern regions that are close to Alaska. That's where he was from.
Oh, okay.
Way out, where salo, which is basically cured solid fat, the subcutaneous fat of the pig cured.
We're going to be doing that, by the way,
Yes,
too.
we're going to be doing that. But he lived in a place where salo was not just a traditional preparation, but actually like survival. You need to cure it. And just like all traditional peasant recipes that reflect order and truth, it is also survival food that tastes extravagantly well, and that's what salo is. And so he was very precise. He sought me out because I scalded it. I dehaired the pigs because he needed the skin on his salo. And he was so adamant about this that he showed up to the slaughter. These weren't even pigs that he raised. He was buying them from another farmer, and that farmer hired me. And so he showed up at the farm to ensure that not only did I take the hair off, but that I burned it off.
That's right.
And I was about to dip his pig in the water, and he's like, "Yet." He didn't even speak English.
That's right.
He brought a friend who sort of spoke English in a very thick accent, and they were describing to me like, "You have to burn it off. You have to burn it off." That was part of his recipe for salo.
Right.
It must be burned off.
But you didn't have a torch, but like the farmer
I
that
didn't
was
have a
there
torch.
happened to have one.
It was a filbert farm, so he had a bunch of hazelnut trees, and of course he's going to have a weed burning torch for his various applications in the nut orchard. And so he was able to bring out a torch, and that was the first pig that I torched, was the pig for salo. And salo is rightly understood, I think, it seems to me when I read about it, as a triumvirate. It's not just the cured back fat or the cured subcutaneous fat of a pig. It is cured, and it's cured every way you can imagine. We're actually going to do a hot brined version of it, which is so awesome. Because there are actually more ways to cure salo than not to cure salo. That's how easy it is to cure back fat, subcutaneous fat. But it is the cured fat, thickly sliced, not thinly.
Like lardo.
Like lardo, like the Italian version, which is also wonderful, but it's sliced thick. And you serve it with rye bread and vodka. And that's a triumvirate that balances out itself. That is, each ingredient is so extravagantly rich that they foil each other and they create a harmony. And that's salo. So that's what this class will be. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Well, it's just, you said in the very beginning that these are things that we don't get to do in the original Family Pig.
Yeah.
But they do come up, and
Yeah.
you constantly, like, talk about them. You know, like, we'll be making fresh sausage, and someone will ask, okay, so how do you make salami?
Yeah.
And you go into it, but we don't have anything to show for it. You know, you'll be in the middle of a slaughter, and you'll be taking the intestines out, and people will say, have you ever harvested the intestines? And you're like, yeah, this is how we do it. And you talk about it, but you're not able to do it because there's just only so much you can pack into a day.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things I have to just verbalize.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll be able to actually visualize them.
Do them. We'll be able to do it.
Yeah.
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 Which is, it worked out perfectly. That's why I have to slaughter a pig several months in advance. So this Family Pig Class Part 2 is going to occur May 8th, 9th, and 10th. Which means I'm going to be slaughtering a pig for that class in January. Probably on my birthday. The beginning of January. So that we can have salami and all of the things. Because we need to see the ends, the final cause, which means we have to eat the things that we make so that we can understand what the goal is. That's the point. It needs to taste well.
So you'll have salami that you will have made from that pig. Did we talk about brining? You're going to be brining hams.
Yeah, we're gonna teach. It's not just brining for flavor, which is kind of how it's. Well, that's the only way it's used. All curing methods today are just for flavoring, which means they're not really curing. But in distinction to that, we are going to brine for preservation. So we're going to make preservation brines, which means you can use them so many ways. But one way is you make a very strong salty brine that your meat stays in for months and months and months in refrigeration. We use that quite a bit, and we really like it. It serves us very well, and there is no part of the pig that you're not supposed to put in that brine. So making the brine is easy. We're going to demonstrate it nonetheless. We're going to show you the right ratio, how to make the brine, and what might be, if there is a tricky part to it, it's not even that tricky, it's using the brine, utilizing the meat that is in the brine. And that's what we're going to do that during the class too, because there's a particular way you cook it and prepare it to make the most of what the brine has conferred, the virtue that the brine has given to the meat, which is transforming it into fresh pork, from fresh pork to ham, this miracle that is ham.
You'll get to take home a quart of your own handmade rillettes. So you'll kind of get to see not only what it looks like doing that, but then you get to taste it. It packages really well, unlike the sausage that people have gone home with the Family Pig.
It's a little harder.
It's a little bit more difficult. But the rillette is just in a quart-sized jar, so you can throw that in your suitcase. You also get lifetime access to our Facebook page, the Meatsmith Table, and that's only for graduates of any class or our members. So it's kind of a closed group. It allows for really good camaraderie in that group. I know it's on Facebook. I know we're all against Facebook. Rightly so. But it is using that technology that is just difficult for people like us to put together. So that is one thing you get to have, lifetime access to that group. And then 7-day free trial for the membership in its entirety. And that includes all of our butcher's salts, e-chapters. We've got a slaughter film on there that actually shows the scald and scrape, and 7 years worth of harvest films and journals that Brandon has put together. A forum that was down for a while, but now it's up. It's kicking again. So that has a backlog of over 7 years of content as well that we update. So
Yeah.
You can get a week's worth of access just to peek into it, see if it's something you think you could glean from, and then you don't have to pay for that. But the price tag for the class itself is the same as our Family Pig one.
That we raise on this land. So
yeah, we're not using...
Which is really the first ingredient that makes everything work.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I just went to the auction and picked up pigs, we couldn't do these classes the way we do them.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing that I hope, at least, people go away with after going to the Family Pig and now this new one, is that it's way simpler than they thought. And it is simple because the pork is delicious all by itself.
Yeah.
Because it's from healthy pigs that were fed organically and given a diverse diet and allowed to act under the influence of the four causes of their being rather than contrary to them, rather than being coerced into a battery that produces protein units to be extracted for our bland cookery. Because the pigs are, and we've always not compromised. This is why it's so hard to do a beef class too for Farmstead Meatsmith, because we source the highest quality. We raise it.
Yeah.
It's all grass-fed. It's traditional breeds, pre-industrial breeds that are extravagantly delicious, because that is the premise of simple cookery. They are effortlessly delicious. Whereas, the industrial hog, the feedlot cow, it has to be tortured into flavor. Like, it's excruciating. That's where cookery is impossible or difficult or requiring complex approaches and puritanical sterility of all your working equipment and kitchen tools, because that kind of meat is volatile. It's gross. It wants to spoil. It's hosting nasty things. You can't help it. But all of that is a part of the current way to do meat, and that's not what we do in these classes. So everything is much simplified. It truly is the prowess of the home cook, not the chef in a lab coat. And I would say that this class also, we are calling it the Family Pig Part 2, probably for lack of creativity, but also...
I was looking up all these sequel names, trying to get a little creative. We have no creativity left.
Failed. Well, also because it is still the Family Pig. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So, meaning you can take this class, having never been to a Meatsmith class before. This is not like, this is the advanced Family Pig class. It's super not that at all.
Right.
Oddly, we're covering the same narrative, even though there's going to be some different chapters. We're still covering the killing, the cutting, and the cooking, and the curing of two pigs.
Yeah.
It's just, there happens to be roughly a bajillion more ways to to dehair, to cook, to cure, and to cut a pig. So this is just going to be a whole nother approach to it that you could just use just as well as your first time harvesting pigs on your own. It'll work beautifully. It'll be awesome. In the Family Pig Part 1, we just do another approach to that whole thing. So at the same time, those who have already been to the Family Pig Part 1 will encounter totally new content. All the things in the Family Pig 1 that we were unable to cover, but just talked about, like salami, rillettes, brining, torching,
Stock.
making head cheese, which is going to involve making broth, making bone broth, utilizing the intestines, making sausage casings and chitterlings. All of that is going to be totally new content. So those who have already been to the Family Pig will have completely new methods to augment your current harvesting prowess. It will only enhance what you can derive from your pig, because really the only limit to the amount of wonderful things we can make from a pig is the pig's own physiology, which is not actually a limit at all. It's just an invitation to infinity, to an infinite number of amazing things. So that's why we needed to do the Family Pig Part 2.
That's right. It's for everyone. It's for people who have some experience with food prep or farming, and people who have no experience. And, like I said, with the Family Pig 1, we would inevitably talk about things that we're going to be doing with Family Pig 2. And same thing goes the other way with, at the same time that we'll be making head cheese, we'll also talk about how we would have maybe made guanciale, or bacon, even though we're not going to be demonstrating that. Nothing is off the table.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about everything. We're just demonstrating the other half of the things there are to do.
Yeah.
So, but it's for everyone. We get people from all over the country, even all over the world. Mm-hmm. We get dads and daughters and mothers and sons and chefs and brothers that want to come together. It's
a great date too. We get lots of couples.
I know. People have come for anniversaries or just you and your buddies. It's a fun experience. Oh, and there's going to be really good meals at the end of each day.
Oh, of course.
And we serve good coffee and cream all day, good drinks, and just really good conversation, in addition to all the content that Brandon will be supplying. Mm-hmm. It's just wonderful to meet other people that are trying to live the same lifestyle you are.
Yeah.
So,
of course, farmsteadmeatsmith.com, and the Family Pig Part 2 in May of 2025 of next year. Mm-hmm. We'd love to see you